I was just looking back on the first episode, and the very first content that we put out, we were recording, and Mark, you phoned Martin halfway through our recording, and Martin turns to the camera and shows your name popping up. It's come full circle now. It's absolutely mad to have you on.
That's a great link, because I went, I've got to knock him back for this blog. And I'm like that.
It's like priorities, Martin, priorities.
Priorities, yeah, that's what it is now.
These are the individuals in...
You realise I've got to knock him back. I've got to say to him, I'm busy. All right.
Come on, speak up.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Final Whistle blog again, our episode 17. This free content we're putting out, particularly down lockdown. For those of you eagle eyes, we're absolutely honoured and privileged to have the amazing Mark Clattenburg with us today. It's like, welcome to the blog, mate.
Thank you for having me.
And you're over in Greece at the moment?
Yeah, I'm back. I've just finished my quarantine period after, because when I came back from England and all of the strains that are out in England with the COVID, I had to self-isolate when I come back to Greece, and now I'm back in the office doing some work. But it's like my job anyways, I can watch many matches on TV, so it didn't impact on my job, but it's just nice to be able to go out and about.
Yeah, we're not at all jealous that you're in Athens and we're in Merseyside and Northumberland. And
I wouldn't say that at the moment. I think every country's the same. Okay, the weather may be a bit different, but every country's the same. It's, with this COVID, everybody's having big trouble. Everything's in lockdown here. So even though Greece sounds a great place at the moment, it's very difficult with everybody really worried about what's going to happen next.
Yeah. Your fellow Geordie, what's the weather like up there, mate?
Well, we've got about a foot of snow here, and I have no idea what it's like in Concert up where obviously Mark knows very, very well. It'll probably be 2 or 3 foot up there.
Yeah, of course it will be. I think my daughter's school, she's based in Durham, and I think a few of her friends live on the outskirts of Durham, and they're in thickness of snow. So up towards Concert, Towlaw, the good old Towlaw, and all these places out in the wilds of Wanney will be all in snow. So it'll be quite picturesque, because very rare we'll have snow, and so it's nice that we can have.
The trees are looking very beautiful.
Hey, listen, mate, we want to start with the real hard-hitting questions that I know it's going to be on everyone's lips to ask you. What do you think of coloured whistles?
That is a hard-hitting question, I think. I was always, they brought all these multi-coloured ones, which I thought was meant for like the same colour as your referee's top. And Collina changed all this with all these coloured tops and the Italians, and then all of a sudden the coloured whistles, but I was always a black whistle man.
I love you even more.
Right, we'll end the podcast now then. I thought you knew about refereeing, but
refereeing. You know what? I always said refereeing should be always. I always like dressing in black. Look, I'm in black for your podcast today. But no, black was always the referee's colour, and my whistle always sounded stupid. Anyways, everybody used to comment saying I used to blow my whistle differently, and I never used to realise. So it must have been the way you blow them. But always, there was different types of whistles, but I just used the whistle that I got for nothing. I was never going to buy one.
It's gone mad now, whistles, though. You can get like 50, 60, 70 quid whistles, and people are like, a whistle's a whistle at the end of the day. It makes a sound. Can you hear it? Yes or no? But yeah, a couple of quid, sorted. No worries. Jobs are good.
It does the same job, man. It stops the game. That's all you need. A whistle to stop the game.
Yeah, mate.
Totally agree, and preferably a black one.
But neon is fine.
But totally with you on that. Give us a tip for those grassroots referees out there, maybe just starting on, a little tip about like what you believe a good whistle is and how your whistle talks and stuff like that, mate. Give a little bit out there.
Interesting, because certainly when you get high and you mix with different nationalities and people who don't speak much English, it's easy when you can communicate with your voice, of course, but when you start dealing with people who can't speak English, then your whistle can do lots of different things, how you blow it. I think you were always taught, even when you were a grassroots referee, that For a bad foul, you would whistle a little bit more. If it was just a normal foul, you could just give it a small peep. So by the tone of your whistle, could deem to the players what level of foul it was. So yes, you have your cards, your red and yellow cards, but the way you blew your whistle was always a good indication of what was going to happen next. Because certainly if it was a bad foul, the way you give it a big blast, which meant whoa, that's a warning. So it can do a lot of talking. Some people, the way you can whistle, it's not just blowing it once. You can actually double tone it, just to stop the game and how you blow it. So I used to blow mine bizarre, and everybody used to say that. People used to know, even with blindfold, who was refereeing the match because of the way you blow your whistle. So I don't know why, but I had a bizarre way of blowing my whistle. Still don't know why and how, but I use the same whistle as everybody else. A black one, of course.
A good boy. And one of the things I remember in a assessor picking up a ref on, and I thought, that's a good shout. That he said, you know what, your loudest whistle today was offside. You blew it longer and louder for any other decision that you've had 3 bookings in the sending off, and it always stuck in my head.
Mine was at the end of the game, so I blew it as hard as I can, so everybody looked somewhere else, and I ran off the pitch.
Some of the games you've done, we were talking, the boys were talking about it, and everyone knows what you've done as amazing achievements, but it's like we were talking about when you were coming through a grassroots level. So what are some of the real big games that were big to you coming through? And as you climb the ladder, we all have our own big games, don't we, at grassroots, cup finals. And what was your first big one at a grassroots level, mate?
Step by step. You can go right down to the bottom rung of the ladder, and it could be just a youth cup final. I can remember refereeing in the Whitley Bay tournament, a tournament that used to be played every summer. And just getting a final for that, because it used to be played at Whitley Bay's Hillheads, which was a proper stadium. So you've gone from a normal pitch that has a bit of grass, or a pitch that has 12 pitches, for example, then going into a stadium with floodlights. It was like, with dressing rooms, it was like, wow. So you can start from the bottom rungs. And then, what I used to do each year was I used to set myself some goals that were achievable, because you can't, for example, have a grassroots referee thinking he's going to dream that at the end of the season he's going to referee the FA Cup final. It's just not practical and not achievable. So you used to be able to each year set yourself some targets, and it could be, for example, refereeing the county finals, youth finals, being able to, for example, referee at the next level, get promoted. So yeah, I never used to think too far ahead. Yes, I always wanted to be refereeing in the top level of English football, but that wasn't achievable at 16. And you don't know what's going to happen at 16, because you're not a crystal ball and think, you know what, I'm going to look at 20 years ahead and think I'm going to referee in the Premier League. And if you think like that you'll probably end up failing, or you'll get disillusioned, because you might get 5 or 6 failures each season, and gradually you're not getting promoted, and then you get disillusioned. So I would always do it in bite sizes and think short term, and then eventually you hopefully go through the different levels to eventually reach what you want to achieve. And I think every young referee or every young person wants to play football, but if they can't play football now, the way the English game's moved with professional refereeing, young people want to be referees now. So it's a career path, but not everybody's going to reach it. It's the same as a boss in a business. You're an employee. You're not always going to reach the top of your company. So you need luck along the way. And I had lots of luck in my career. One piece of luck was being an assistant referee in a not conference game. Clive Oller was the referee, Michael's father, and we all travelled together across the Barrow, and it was Rushden and Diamonds, and Rushden and Diamonds were one of the big sides in non-league competitions. They eventually got promoted to the Football League and went financially bust, but they were playing Leeds, and the Drew were Leeds in the Cup, so they were playing Leeds in a replay, so there was big publicity on the game, and they were playing in Barrow, and Clive. I was the junior assistant, of course, and the senior assistant had said to us, Mark, you're a guy who has potential. Donald McLeod, the assistant, was called, and he said, why not you become assistant and remain assistant? Very rare it happens that the referee gets injured, but he thought, you've got better chance than me. And lo and behold, after 15 minutes, Clive comes off, and I go on, and I did really, really well, and the game was normally refereed, and my first challenge was a yellow card, which was nice because it was clear, and the game went well, and I got a 10 out of 10 off the assessor, and that's the look that you sometimes need to get elevated through, because you could be just a number in an organisation with 50, 60 referees wanting the same, but you need that little bit of luck along the way.
Beautiful story, that.
Yeah, that's. I'm just like, wow, take that in. That's amazing advice. Take it in bite-sized, season by season. If you roll with that, if you do well every season, if you achieve all your targets, then by the end of it, you're Mark Clattenburg. Or like you say, if you're lucky enough, you have a fantastic career.
Collina used to say to me, it's not about luck, it's about skill. But you need 90% skill, 10% luck. You need some luck along the way, and if you don't get any luck, it might not be, for example, some grassroots referees that could be refereeing really well and not getting assessor to go to the game. You know, we used to know when we got assessors, because when I was refereeing in the Morpeth Sunday League or the Cramlington Sunday League or the Blythe Sunday League, you knew the guy who was going to assess you because he had a jacket on with a hat on and he was hiding in the trees. You know, I think it's changed now, but you would always look out for that, you know, the eagle-eyed with binoculars, and you think, hey, there's the assessor, you know.
Yeah, and I was the Leeds manager who does that now. One of the things I said, class, I want the boys to come in as well here, but I remember you a couple of months ago when we got together in the Leisure League's headquarters, when you're a fantastic ambassador for Leisure Leagues. You were talking about a story about Collina, you just mentioned him there, giving you some advice about what was going on with Pepe. He picked something up with Pepe and tactics they were using. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah, that wasn't Pepe, it was Thiago.
Thiago, sorry, mate, sorry, yeah.
He's now at Liverpool, and, you know, it was just about understanding football, and referees have a guilty that understand the laws of the game and they know the laws of the game inside out, or the majority do. But it's not about, that's not enough anymore. It's not about just knowing the laws of the game. You've got to understand the game. And Pierluigi Collina made us understand the game. And it was Thiago was the smallest player from Bayern Munich. In the first leg that they were playing Barcelona, he was the smallest player. And he was blocking players, Piqué in particular. And he showed us 6 or 7 incidents from the first leg when I was refereeing the second leg. And it gave us the tools to work out how I could solve these issues, and where the best referees in the world are the ones that are proactive and solve everything before it happens. The ones that aren't the best referees are the ones that are reactive and deal with it. And that's not what makes a good referee anymore. You know, you can deal with penalties, but that comes with criticism. If you give penalties or you give red cards, one team's going to be upset and one team's going to be happy. But actually, if you solve everything before it happens, you keep you keep everybody happy, or you try to, which is always a difficult job as a referee. So Collina gave us all the tools, and as much as he could, to be able to understand football. And that's why he was, and still is, in my eyes, one of the best referees ever to be in modern football, and possibly in any football. He was by far the best referee, and I tried to get maybe 5% of his skill sets. I couldn't referee like him. I know Howard Webb tried to by shaving his hair, but I couldn't be anywhere like him. So I just decided, you know what, I'll try and understand the game of football. And you know what, it helped us massively in the last few years in my career. And that's why I became so successful. It wasn't because, there was a lot of hard work, fitness, and my movement was probably one of the best in the world at that time. But he made us understand football. And when you get into players' heads, because players will do it to you, once you get into their heads, you become so successful, because players are thinking, what's going to happen next? And when you get like that with players, your game becomes so easy.
When we're talking about the big games like that, and obviously, look, my concern is with sort of the well-being and mental toughness and resilience around refereeing. Obviously, I, like probably many who are listening to this and watching this, I read your recent piece, or a recent piece certainly, about some of the things you'd said in relation to some of the big games you'd had, and about the pressure that social media had kind of put on you around that time, and how ultimately it led to you not being able to have memories of sort of the play during the big games, certainly in 2016, where you had that series of great finals that you got appointed to successively. What I kind of wanted to ask about that was, what do you feel that you would have done differently now when you obviously you talk about those nerves traveling and things like that? What do you think you'd have been able to do differently to sort of actually now be able to have the memories?
I think that it's always good afterwards, because you can analyse and you can possibly enjoy it a lot more now that I've finished refereeing. It gives you a chance to reflect, and it is a sadness that when you're involved in it, the pressures are so big. And I've said this many times before, the modern day referee, unfortunately, is under more pressure than they've ever been. If you think back to when possibly the Premier League, when I first got on the Premier League 15 years ago, we didn't have spider cams, we didn't have Ultra HD, we didn't have 40 cameras at every game. Yes, it has its advantages that if you make a decision that nobody believes, that you hope that a camera can pick it up. But the way modern football is now, you've got cameras that referees will never, ever get that viewing angle. And most of the time it's behind the goal. And unfortunately, referees never get that camera angle. And it becomes very, very difficult. The pace of the game's got a lot faster. But it is with sadness, because, the pressures when I first started, refereeing was enjoyable. Yes, it was a profession, but it wasn't as serious as it is now. I think the financial side of it's gone up. Therefore, the responsibilities and everyone involved in football becomes higher, including referees, and the fitness levels went up. And the social media side was zero. So therefore, if you knew you had a good game, I used to always laugh at this. I used to get a mark in the newspaper on a Monday, and I used to think, yes, I used to turn the paper upside down, so I got a 9 instead of a 6. Things like that. And that was the only way you knew through a journalist if you had a half decent game, if you got a 7 or 8, and you think, that's all right, or you didn't get criticised in the newspaper. Now, and that newspaper disappeared. It disappeared at Whitley Beach, with a fish and chips. So therefore, it was gone. But now, with the way the web and social media got developed, there's no hiding place, and it stays there forever. So your family can read it, and it becomes really, really difficult to deal with. And when you have good games, it's really easy, but you're still getting criticised. Even if you make the decision correct, you're upsetting one team or the other. And there's just so many keyboard warriors that if you read it, and unfortunately, everybody likes to have a peak, because everybody wants praise. Especially in refereeing, because it's a soulless task. You don't get very much praise. So you're searching for praise, but then 99% of it is just vile trolling, and you're having to deal with that because there's so much negativity. When you get older, you deal with it a bit easier, because you get a bit more experience, and you become a little bit more relaxed about it. But when you're pushing yourself to try and be the best you can be, you just get trolled over the smallest things, and and some death threats when you make a decision that you think is even right. And even over the Oban Mikel incident, where I was accused of being a racist, people still believe it's true, and because Chelsea accused us, they're football fans of Chelsea, they'll still believe it, even though I think everybody knows it was completely false. And the things always live with you, so you have to deal with it. And the psychologists on board now in the PGMOL, could they do more? Of course they could, because it's not just the Premier League and the top referees that need it. It's some of the guys below, and how some even grassroots referees can deal with the abuse that they take, because I've been involved in just for example, it was about 3-4 years ago, I did a game for, probably a little bit longer, maybe 5 years ago, I did a game for one of my friends in Sunderland, and it was a youth match. And some of the abuse I was taking, I just put my whistle down. It was a black one, of course. And I just put it down. Put it down on the side of the pitch. And the guy who was giving us abuse, I said, go on then, mate, you do it, I'm off. I'm not getting paid for this. I'm doing it as a favour. I just refereed a big game in the Premier League. And I just started walking off. And it had, to be fair, everybody ganged up on the guy and told him to leave, but I'm thinking, what about this guy who's a young referee who hasn't got the skill sets to be able to deal with it like me? The abuse was just unreal. And you think, but most of the parents, they want something for their sons and daughters that they weren't. So therefore, they shout and scream at the sons, the other teams, the referees, and it's just frustration. And it's a society issue. And unfortunately, you're never going to change it because there's so much jealousy. And people still abuse me now for having me tattoos, having a car, having a nice house, having nice clothes. Oh, Mark Clattenburg's got hair. He shouldn't have. He's a referee. What is it? Somebody tell me what is a referee? What is a referee supposed to look like? People have stereotypical image of a referee, yeah. With a beard, and you weren't allowed a beard. You're certainly not allowed a beard. You weren't allowed a beard at night.
No, that's true. Not under the Ellery regime.
No, but you two, beards and tattoos, God, you get nowhere. You two now.
I got reported off David Ellery for having a beard, so you would have no chance.
Rock and roll referees. That's what we are.
Referees,
Somebody explain to me what is a referee? Because I dress, or I think it was Rob Jones got criticised recently for having a hairstyle. What's that all about? What's that got to do with it? A hairstyle? Who cares? But unfortunately, these trolls, have I'm not allowed to speak. For example, people said to me, "Go, you're a Geordie." Well, what do they expect us to? I live in the Northeast. I've lived in the Northeast all my life. What do they want us to speak like? But people don't even hear you. And have this perception of you from watching you on TV, and it's like an actor in Coronation Street. They're different to how they are in their normal lives. I'm dealing with multi-millionaires, and if I try to act like I did with my mates, I wouldn't survive. So I've got to find a way to manage these multi-millionaires, and people just have this perception of you on TV that you're arrogant, and they can have that perception of us, but I'm one of the least arrogant people you'll meet.
Obviously, you've got a wife and you've got kids and things, and that must be a big concern when you're getting sort of abuse and things like that. But I also want to look at it from the other side of obviously being a family man as you are, to have a lot of time. Like obviously, we talked about 2016 where you had a really strong season and you'd done a lot of games and you did the cup final, and then you were off to the Euros. You'd done the Champions League final as well, obviously. When you had that time away, and maybe even earlier in your career as you were coming through the levels, when you had maybe a difficult game and, for example, you were at Southampton or Portsmouth and it was a long way back and you were maybe struggling or agonising over one thing or another, when you have that distance to travel and you maybe don't exactly have the warmth of your family immediately after a game, how kind of difficult is that?
Yeah, my wife knew. She knew that by my voice the minute I got back to the hotel after the game to collect my car and then head back home, she knew in my voice if I was low or high, and because I was one of the senior referees, I refereed most of the big games, so therefore it had its responsibilities, unfortunately, that you had to deal with. And one of the hardest things is driving home after a game when you know you've made a mistake, and it doesn't take 10 people to tell you that you've made a mistake. So you're analysing the mistake, and you're trying to drive your car, and half the time you're in autopilot because you just can't, rewinding the game in your head thinking, what could I have done different? Why did I do that? And that's before you even watch the video back, either that night or the next day. And it's hard thinking, well, why did I do that? Why did I do that? And it's really difficult, and you're driving along and you're thinking, oh my God, I've just drove 40, 50 miles and not even thought about it. I'm just still in autopilot. And, that's something that you've got to be careful of, especially, being able to deal with it, because you've got to concentrate on driving. But referees aren't like players who get a coach home and, they're pampered and looked after and get a flight home. Referees have to travel back themselves. So you've got to analyse them. And I try to avoid chat shows, football chat shows afterwards, because most of the fans were just going to be negative. You never hear a fan coming on saying that referee was great. Most of the time they were just going to come on and criticise. So I try to avoid all that and put music on and try to chill and try to clear my mind again, because unfortunately it's like riding a bike. You fall off it and you've got to get back on it again the following week. And you've got to try and move on from your mistakes and improve from your mistakes ready for the following week. And it's really, really difficult, but my family were always supportive. My wife would leave us alone after a game and never come anywhere near us when I got back home, and because she knew I needed my time to analyse it and quickly move on. Sundays were a bad day. I was always in a bad mood. Even if I had a good game, I would still be wanting to improve and push myself even more. So Sundays were a bad day, and then Mondays were reasonable days till I got the appointments at 4:00, and then I would be up or I would be down. So it was like a roller coaster every week of emotions, and sometimes it really got you down. And and I was lucky I got out before the VAR, or I would have been never at all. If European matches, English matches, and it was the hardest bit, being able to manage your family time. But my family was really good. I've got a son, 18-year-old. He probably got more exposed to me refereeing than my daughter. My daughter just thinks it's funny that I'm on TV, working for various companies, and she finds it funny. But me, probably son, with being a boy, probably got exposed to it a bit more, and he used to just laugh. He used to just laugh about it. But I don't know what impact it had on him at school if I'd made a mistake. But I read I've spoken to Lee Mason after he got abused by the Wolves manager, and it impacts, and I know what he means by that. When a manager comes out and says something negative, it is hard for your children on the school playground, because they are going to get exposed, because unfortunately there's no hiding place with the media anymore. There was newspapers. Now the internet, the news flashes that you get on your mobile phone now are just every 2 minutes. So therefore there's no hiding place for a modern day referee, and unfortunately that's the hardest thing. And you've got to protect your family, and I used to protect them. My wife never used to come to games other than the big finals, only because she wanted the free hospitality.
And you know what, Clat? So I'm really glad you touched on it. It's almost accidental, but it happens a lot on these blogs. Is every time I talk to you, you always mention your family. And you mentioned about like the challenges you have, and there's a misconception out there with managers and players that referees don't care if they make a perceived mistake. And like you touched on, you did so well because you'd always pushed yourself and you always want to critique. But we've talked about the importance of family on there, and I did want to flash up that you are a big family man, and people don't see referees as having that sort of life. They just see this person in a black, yellow, or whatever kit, and think we're all fair game.
Yeah, it's not a family. Without your family and strong family, you can't achieve. Successful men need a woman behind them to protect them and look after them and make my life easy. She didn't make me boots. She didn't wash me boots. That was one thing she refused. But she always made sure that my life was easy. If I was going away in Europe on a Monday and I'd been in the Premier League on a Saturday, I only had Sunday off. Monday I was travelling, game Tuesday, back Wednesday. And that used to happen a lot for me. So especially in the latter part of my career, because I was refereeing 13, 14 European matches a season. So therefore I was very rare at home. So she managed the family. I remember going to my very first tournament with FIFA, and she was pregnant for my daughter Mia, and back in 2011. She's due to give birth, and I'm panicking because I'd been told I was going to go and refereeing the under 20 World Cup in Colombia. And you know that refereeing, if you don't take the opportunity, somebody else will. And I was adamant. I'm like to my wife, I need to go. And she's like, yeah, I support you, but I'm pregnant. It's your daughter. You want to be there for the birth. And the amount of curries I give her all sorts of laxative. Eventually she gave birth 1 week before going to Colombia. But you can imagine the phone call after 3 weeks. I had a good tournament, and after 3 weeks, I was told that I was staying. And that phone call, I'm high because I'm in my first tournament, and not many English referees got retained in tournaments for years. Ellery failed, Durkin failed, Gallagher failed, Riley failed, Paul failed. very rare referees got retained in any FIFA tournaments. I know Webb did in 2008, 2008 and 2010. So it was the start of this thing. So I didn't want to let anybody down. I didn't want to be a failure. So to get told that I'd been successful and been retained for the latter stages was a great feeling. But then to bring my wife up, who was just looking after a 1 week, 2 week, 3 week old baby, my God, it was hard, really hard. And, you know, to make that phone call to say I'm not coming home for another 2 weeks was one of the hardest phone calls I've had to make. And, you know, that's what you needed behind us, because she made my tournament successful because I didn't have to worry about anything back home, bearing in mind the time difference and everything else. So, you know, I had a good tournament, and that probably accelerated my career on, because if somebody else had took my place, I might not have had a chance going forward. So you need to take your chances.
That's an incredible sacrifice. And I mentioned in the podcast a couple of episodes ago that my wife gave birth in November. Obviously, we were during lockdown. I was there for the birth. It was a cesarean, but because of COVID, they kicked me out of the hospital. I didn't see them for 2 days. And for you to say it was weeks after your baby was born that you didn't get that time, that just really hits home the amazing sacrifice that you had to do to progress in refereeing at the cost there. I just wanted to say as well there, you mentioned these massive fixtures that came your way. I wanted to talk about not the tournament ones, because obviously you feel if you're having a good tournament and you would stay and progress on. But the things like the Champions League final, how do you get that news? So I assume it's not like cold, like an email or nothing like that. But on the other end, I don't expect it's like a golden dove that comes down with this scroll that says, "Here's your fixture, Mr. Clattenburg." Where in that scale is how do you get that news?
Great shout.
You buy a Willy Wonka chocolate bar and
all the Oompa Loompas come out.
Oh, leave me out of this.
It's amazing because in December, so if we go back to 2015, in December, I was on my way to do Leicester-Chelsea, and it was a pretty cold night in Leicester. I think Mourinho got the sack that day, if I recall rightly, and after the match, and Chelsea lost 2-0, and I got a phone call on the way to the stadium from Pierluigi Collina. When Collina rings you, it's like your phone double vibrates, so therefore you're like, okay, and I'm on my way to the game, and I'm like, he said, can you keep it quiet? It's getting released tomorrow. You're going to be going to the Euros. And I'm like, okay, hell, I'm about to referee Chelsea-Leicester. Yeah, and to be fair, I ran around like Billy Whiz. I was like, so to get that phone call, to know that you're going to be a part of the Euro Championships, from being an additional referee for Howard in Poland and Ukraine in 2012 to be a referee in 2016, especially with all the pressures, because there was some pressures on that. You know, Martin Atkinson was, you know, probably the FA's first choice, and I did what I had to do, and I didn't concentrate on anybody else. I just concentrated on my thing, got fitter, tried to get better, get me fit and me movement, tried everything. And I concentrated on my own game, and lucky enough I was chosen. So that started the move going forward. And then for the Euro Championship, for the Champions League final, I'm in the car going down to St George's for the select group meeting, and I got to take a phone call. And what was bizarre was I didn't expect this phone call to be a referee, because I'd refereed the semi-final in the Champions League, and I did by Atletico Bayern. Really, really successful first leg, no issues, no controversies. Guardiola was the coach of Bayern. So there was absolutely, no issues, no criticism. Everybody happy after the match. Pierluigi sent us a message congratulating me performance. And it's over. My season's over. Great. Done. Thanks very much. Thanks, lads. Let's have a beer. Because the season's over. You don't do a semi-final and a final. It's never heard of. And then it was about 3 days before the announcement. It was said in the Spanish newspaper that my good friend Jonas Eriksson was going to referee from Sweden. And I was like, wow, there's no official announcement, but I'm so happy for him because he deserved it. He's a great referee, great guy, experienced, like him a lot. And I'm thinking if I can be fourth official, because Collina knew I was good friends with him. So I'm hoping I can be fourth official to him, what a great thing is. My family get together in Milan. I love Milan as a city. I'm thinking, because I've refereed the finals, there's absolutely no chance, and took the phone call and stopped, because when Collina rings, like I said, double ringtone, you stop, and I pulled up onto the lay-by, pulled up, took his phone call, and he just said, congratulations on the FA Cup final. You're going to be, would you like to go to Milan? And I'm like, I would love to go to Milan. I'll be delighted to be fourth official at Jonas Eriksson, thinking that Jonas had the game, and he went, no, you're not going to be fourth official, you're going to be refereeing. I'm like, stop taking the piss, you know what I mean? He says, what did you just say? And I was talking to Geordie, and I ended up having to speak a bit better English. And I was like, of course I'd be on it, And it was bizarre, because going back to emotions, I was high as a kite, absolutely high as a kite. And I ring my wife, there's like, her first words is not congratulations. Her words were, fucking hell, what outfit can I get? What shoes am I going to wear? So she didn't understand. And then I started ringing the guys up, because I work with a team, and I got warned, I got told that Andre Mariner, who was one of my additionals, was on holiday. So what I did was I privately got everybody together, because we couldn't tell anybody till 5 o'clock that evening, till the press release. So I pulled all the guys to one side, and I said to Simon Beck, who was my number 2 at the time, Simon, congratulations, I'm going to go and do the Champions League final. Everybody was like, what? And we was doing, Jake Collins started crying, because he was new to the team, and he was like, wow, what a roller coaster this is. Champions League final. And then I spoke to Anthony Taylor, and then Andre Mariner was like, I said to Andre, unfortunately you can't be me addition in the Champions League final because you want a holiday. He went, I'm not, I'm cancelling my holiday. So he, so I had to tell UEFA that he was available. And then I had to train with St. John. I couldn't see anything, and it was bizarre, because I was so happy that I was being given this final, and I went training, couldn't see anything, and I was like Billy Wiz. Everybody was like, wow, he's training probably the best he's ever trained. And I was running around, and Riley didn't even know, nobody knew. And then at 4 o'clock I went up to my room after training, got myself a coffee, and just waited for Sky Sports News. And then at 5 o'clock I came across the ticker bar, and my phone just went crazy. And then, to be fair, I went downstairs to the dining room at 6 when we had dinner at 6 o'clock, and everybody stood up and clapped, and even Martin Atkinson, who was my arch rival, even stood up and clapped. So respect, and to be given that Champions League. But then reality kicks in. You think, shit, I've got to referee the Champions League final. All the accolades and all the nice messages. You're then thinking, oh my God, I've got to actually referee it.
What a game as well, the Madrid derby. What absolute top draw.
Wasn't bad, because it works out well, because Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid was probably the perfect final for me, because I'd had Madrid Atletico twice in that tournament previously, and both games went really well, so they were happy with my appointment. Real Madrid were happy, because they always played well and won. So I think it was a dream final for myself, because I had both clubs actually wanting us to do the final, probably not afterwards, but certainly before.
What you do, obviously, Leisure League's ambassador, like we said, and you've been to 2 of International Soccer Federation's World Cups now, which the lads just love having you around, and it's just a very different vibe and very hands-on. And because of what happens with your connection with Portugal, really, with Ronaldo, in Lisbon in the first World Cup, I was shocked how many times you were just recognised, even when we would have, I think we were getting some chips early hour of the morning. We had one game, and they wanted to all take selfies with you, and it was incredible, absolutely incredible experience.
I liked how you said the chips. You forgot about the alcohol, probably.
You just classed us up, mate. Thanks for that.
But no, it was incredible for Portugal to win that Euros. They were, they never even won a game in the group stage. They drew every match, and then they practically drew nearly every match other than the semi-final. They won on penalties and stuff. So I think it was amazing that they beat the French team, and having the first tournament. But what I have to say, I've been working with Leisure Leagues the last few years, and it's a great company for grassroots and the small-sided football. It's incredible what they're doing, nationally. Unfortunately, because of the COVID, everything's under restrictions at the moment. But once COVID's end, it's an amazing way to go and play football in a controlled environment, because I was shocked how the discipline towards the referees and how good Leisure Leagues make it for players and referees to be in a safe environment is incredible. And for me to be a part of that, and even going to referee in my first tournament in Lisbon in the World Cup was unbelievable. I couldn't believe we've got to have a football stadium in the square in Lisbon. Was just breathtaking and unbelievable. And it even got better in Crete 2 years ago. 2 years ago, 1 year ago, 1 year ago.
1 year ago, mate.
Yeah, it was incredible to have an even better stadium on the beach. The tournament itself, the skills, the crowds, the popularity of it, and even the quality of refereeing and the players were just exceptional. And to be a part of 2 World Cups, it was like really, really special and well organised. And I can't wait for the next one, to be fair, Martin, and I'm hoping the next one will be even better. And I'm sure it will be, because Lisbon was really good, excellent. Crete went to another level. So what's the next one? And for referees to come worldwide and learn from people's experiences, and we all learn from each other's experiences. I still learn every day. I watch referees here in Greece, and I learn from them all the time. And to see different styles of refereeing and everybody coming together as a family, and that's the most important thing. Refereeing and football should, in a great environment, in a friendly environment, it's really enjoyable. And it's nice to referee without getting criticism on Twitter, which is always.
It was brilliant. I remember we were up late not drinking alcohol again, with the American managers and that, not drinking alcohol again in this lovely bar that didn't serve alcohol, and you were just chatting away, and it was just you. I don't even think you know it, mate. This is probably why you did so well. It's when you talk and your passion. There we are. It's essentially it's a World Cup for amateur players, and even in the rules it says they're all amateur. And you got these managers, and one was from America, and one of the American lads was also from England. Both of them were from England actually, but live in America. And the way you were talking to them, and the way they engaged, and it's just great to see you giving that bit back to that level of football, mate. It really is great to see.
Yeah, I've been a referee, and I didn't stop in Saudi. I still refereed in Saudi, and then I went to China and completely just refereed, which was great. I didn't have any of the management side of it, any of the stresses. Coming to Greece is a different level, and because I'm in control of the whole refereeing side of it from the top level to grassroots, which is something new to us. It's the management side of refereeing is completely different to being a referee, where you're in control with your black whistle in your black kit when you go on the pitch. You're not in control when you're a manager. You've actually got to, you're relying on other people to do the job successfully. And I can only pass on my experiences. I pass on. And the biggest tips I give to referees here in Greece is just be fair and be balanced. If you're balanced in all your decisions, and not two wrongs don't make a right, but give what you give for one team, you give to the other. You'll get more respect and accepted. And this is one of the biggest things I pass on, because if you whistle 4 or 5 decisions against one team and 2 of them are wrong, you'll always get criticised. And you've got to find a way to. The most successful referees are the ones that find the way to balance the matches in the best way under the laws of the game and the spirit of the game. So I just try and pass on my experiences. Am I learning every day as a boss? Yeah, of course. I learn every day. I learn how the Greek reality, the Greek way, and the Greek football. And the Greek football is very special. I can't wait for the fans to come back into the stadiums, because Olympiakos, Panathinaikos, PAOK, Aris, AEK, all these clubs have got great fan bases. So I'm looking forward to seeing football here in Greece really being played. But the most important thing at the moment is everybody stays safe, because unfortunately, this COVID isn't going to go away in the short term.
Have you found that there's, obviously when you first went to Saudi, and then obviously you've been to China and you're now in Greece, have you found sort of problems that you, not necessarily negative problems, but things that are issues that you didn't previously see with being on UEFA or FIFA and obviously in the Premier League?
Yeah, it's a big culture shock, because I went to Saudi and you can't drink alcohol. So I had a lot of air miles flying to Dubai. But in reality, there's no alcohol. So I'm not saying that you need alcohol, but it's sometimes nice to be able to socialise and just get away from football. So in Saudi it was different because a lot of the clubs were owned by the royal families or part of the government, or so there was a lot of politics and a lot of the referees were good referees, but was trying to develop them. But quickly the government changed. They wanted foreign referees, so I was just appointing foreign referees, and my job was so difficult trying to appoint foreign referees, and it was a full-time job, so I didn't have the time to give me input into the domestic referees, and I was refereeing as well. And after 2 years of being in Saudi, my contract was coming to an end. I asked us to extend for 6 months, but I was not in any shape to extend. And I knew China was talking in the background. Saudi was normal. You could eat normal food, but China was a different level. Going to China, it was just completely different. The food, preparation. I was refereeing every week. I had to referee 35 games from March till end of November. So I was out every week, traveling 3-hour flights, sometimes from Beijing to Guangzhou. The culture's different, the food for sure. Even before a game, I was never getting the food intake that I should be before matches. I was fatiguing very quickly in matches, mentally as well, not just physically, because I wasn't getting the right food in that I wanted for my body, because China's completely different. But they were very friendly people. I settled in very, very quickly, met some good friends, the expats. So I had a great life in China. I really enjoyed China as a country. It was great. My family enjoyed it. They came for short periods. And, I was settled there. And then unfortunately, because of the COVID, it ended. The contract ended. We couldn't get visas. And then in the summer, UEFA called us to come to Greece and take over the head of refereeing. And Greece is a completely different world. So great lifestyle. I've got a great life, private life, apartment near the beach. And, Greece is such a great country to live in. But the football is really, really difficult. Very difficult place to work and try and become the head of refereeing, because unfortunately, refereeing is a really difficult place in football, because everybody wants to blame the referee, and it's even worse now in COVID, because with COVID, owners haven't got the money coming in because of no crowds. Financially, they've got huge problems, and they want to take it out more on the referees. So every decision has been scrutinised even more, and not in the past it used to get accepted. Now there's very little acceptance of any refereeing decisions, and that's just because of the COVID as well, even amplified more. Because there's no money, and everybody's under huge pressure for relegations, and the financial getting into Champions League. So the pressures here is bigger than it would have been 2 years ago. But I like a challenge. I love a challenge in life, and now, even though I'm only 45 years old, people say, "Can you still referee?" And my mindset's completely changed now. I want to become more developed in my management skills and pass on all my experiences and try and become, it's a different chapter in my life, and it has its own responsibilities. And I believe that if I keep learning from me pitfalls and my mistakes, I'll hope that I can become a successful manager in refereeing as well. And I hope, but you never know. And not all good referees can make good managers, so we'll see.
Wish you all the best with obviously that coming out of the coronavirus, and then hopefully getting Greek football back up to its best, and the referees there.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's a big challenge, and it's a one that, we'll have foreign referees do come into Greece, but only for some of the big games, just to take the pressure away from some of the Greek referees. Plus, we haven't got enough referees at the moment because of the restrictions and not getting people certified, because people don't realise that the VAR has caused many problems in refereeing, because referees cannot referee matches that are VAR operated if they're not certified. And there's a lot of preparation in a referee just to be certified. A lot of hours of training, a lot of on-field line matches, off-line matches. There's a lot of work, and we have 10 new promoted referees in Greece. And unfortunately, not one of them can operate in the Super League because they're not certified, and we can't get them certified because of the COVID. So it's not an easy task, and not having crowds in is one blessing for some of the referees, but it's not a blessing in other ways.
I just want to say, what a brilliant blog this has been. Having someone like you, mate, how ordinary and real you are. I knew how real you were, but it's just great that it's all just come out so naturally, mate, and it's been brilliant. And I'm going to pass you over to Anthony because he's got a question he wants to ask about something we're going to do about advertising the blog.
Oh, no, yeah, but before that, I just want to mention a couple of episodes ago, we had Jerry Gill on, former Birmingham City player, and he said during a game that was played at Prenton Park, you were the referee there, and he was given some stick and you gave something back, something along the lines of, how can you be giving me stick when you spend so much time on the sunbed? And he said to you, how can you have a pop at me when you clearly use sunbeds more than I do? I just want to say, are you only in Greece because sunbeds have got so expensive that you're just cutting out the middleman and getting the sun in?
I was told they were harmful, so I thought, you know what, let's just get the proper sun. But
brilliant.
It's either Seaman, County Durham, or Athens. Come on.
Fairness.
I've been to Seaham and Athens, and I can testify Mark's definitely made the right decision.
Anyway, fella Jordan, you should stick up for Seaman.
Yeah, you just.
I've lived in Greece for a couple of years as well. I'll just say, stay away from the fried cheese because that will just. I used to be like 7 stone, but that fried cheese really gets you, and the gyros.
Is that why you put the camera from your head up so you can't see it?
That's it. If I lean back, it's tits and belly. So that's how COVID's got me. I've not exercised and I've eaten lots of fried cheese and kebabs.
Yeah. And I've only got a suntan from the light on the fridge.
Yeah, because of the beer.
Yeah.
To win the signed t-shirt, you've got to comment a magic word in the comments afterwards. But Mark's just got to pick out a magic word. Any word you want, mate. Don't say we don't want that one. But any word you want, and that's the magic word we got to put in.
Tattoos.
Oh, that's a beauty.
Interesting.
Beauty. Love that, mate.
Sound. So if you've been watching this podcast, comment the word tattoos. That'll put you into the prize draw to win the Mark Clattenburg signed shirt.
How many tattoos do I have? That's the question.
Ooh.
Well,
I like that.
A bonus. I'll tell you what, and if you get that right, we'll throw in from our partners, Leisure Leagues, we'll throw in a signed yellow and red card, signed by Mark Clattenburg, to see how many tattoos he's got.
There you go.
Addis Gravy.
I'll even get the final whistle tattoo. Should I get the final whistle tattoo? No?
Yes, mate. We'll all do it. We'll all go out and not drink alcohol and get tattoos.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, listen, that's the final whistle, episode 17 with the incredible Mark Clattenburg. Thank you for listening.
Make sure it's your last one. Thanks. Cheers.